So when you're, by the way, the wine tasting evening is going really well. Pull the wine glass by the stem, and really what we should be looking at first is the clarity. A bit of a swirl to generate some airflow. The bouquet, the aroma, it's wonderful, it's wonderful. I can tell, probably about 40 kilometres south of Florence there. Sip. And savour, and that's how you drink a wine. Expat Lifestyle with Bads, welcome to the wine edition. And remember, thumbs up, bell notifications on, and subscribe. I hope you enjoy this episode. All things wine in Florence. Well, I hope you enjoyed my introduction to this episode, All Things Wine in Florence. And look, whilst it's nice to know how to drink a wine, this episode really focuses on where you can go here in Florence and all of those sort of economical options that are potentially available to you. Options that are also dependent upon your budget. Now, here in Florence this week, it's Fashion Week, and I've heard from a very reliable source that Leonardo DiCaprio is here in Florence. Now, next episode, I can safely say that Leo DiCaprio will not be appearing on my YouTube channel. Unfortunately, I just couldn't fit him in. Now, I must admit, I've put a lot of work into putting this episode together, so salute to me. Look, as you can imagine, the wine scene here in Florence and Italy generally, it's massive. It really is. There are wine options everywhere here in Florence, from wine shops to tastings or restaurants. Obviously, wine is the basis or staple beverage. So there's so many options for you to explore. Now, within those options, I've also touched on in this episode some very economical options too, such as the Sfuso, buying a carafe, the house wine. And what about the history of wine here in Florence? The wine windows give you a glimpse of how old the wine industry is here in Florence. So the wine tasting provides an opportunity, doesn't it, for you to socialise with friends and family if your children, like mine, are old enough. And I'll tell you, we did enjoy a few lovely evenings together. So please, as it's starting to rain, I better get out of here. Enjoy this episode, All Things Wine in Florence. Salute, of course. See you later. The wine windows. Now, I've covered this in a previous episode, but if you come to Florence and want to experience a little bit regarding what wine is all about in this area of Italy, there are one or two operating wine windows. Unfortunately, we've got one just around the corner here. We do take our family and friends when they arrive in Florence because it's such a novelty. And I've noticed just recently there's a huge amount of people taking photos and enjoying that experience, because that's what it is, isn't it? It's a wonderful experience. It's a bit of history. And the great thing is we've got a working and non-working wine window just around the corner. So in 1559, Cosimo Medici implemented a law that allowed noble families, rich families, to sell wine to people through this window, therefore preventing any social contact. So social distancing at its best 400, 500 years ago. There are about 160 of these wine windows still in Florence. So look, if you're in Florence, Belladonna, fantastic little restaurant. You've got the wine window, nice, very atmospheric. So yeah, that's one of my recommendations. Wine window. Tell me a little bit about the history. Oh, it's happening. It's happening. It is happening. I'm just going to pass the camera over.
We missed it. You missed
grazie,
it.
grazie.
Grazie.
Salute. And the restaurant that operates this wine window can be found in Belladonna. Beautiful women. It's a street name you won't forget. Okay, so if you're taking your girlfriend or wife along, you can tell them, hey, you're in the perfect street. And say, why, what's that? What's it called? Belladonna, beautiful women. That'll get a smile for sure. Now look, I do enjoy a wine, preferably the reds, but you know what? It's all about the taste, isn't it? Not about the cost. Closely linked with the wine window are the local Sfusos that you'll find in Florence. Now a Sfuso is a bulk wine shop. So if you're in Florence travelling, there are a few in the historical part, a couple I've seen in the historical part of Florence. Where I go to is about a 2k walk.
Bonjour.
Buongiorno. So basically, they sell the wine on tap. You know, it doesn't sound great, does it? But you go along there, you can buy an empty bottle, and they'll off the menu you pick what you want. They fill up the bottle, cork it for you, and the great thing is for €4. So, you know, for an Australian, it's about $6. So you can convert it Hey, I tell you what, very, very drinkable. And the theme, don't worry about the cost, but it tastes good. And I've actually bought a few bottles from the Sfuso. You take your empties back and they fill it up for you, they cork it, and away you go. €4. And the blend I've found, hey, it tastes good. So you're in Florence, and of course, you're going to be eating out at a restaurant. I feel like a wine. So we get the wine list out, and look, most bottles will start at about €28, and it's quite drinkable, let me tell you that. And if money's no object, €200-300, not a problem. Myself, however, look, you can't go past the Vino della Casa, the house wine. You can get a carafe for 1 litre, it's about €14. You know, think about that, that's one and 1/3 bottles. My wife doesn't drink, so I'll get at the most a half a litre, and that's, you know, 2/3 of a bottle, and that'll cost me about €7 or €8. And the house red, the Vino della Casa, is very, very drinkable, so that's something to think about. Keep in mind too, the higher end restaurants, they won't sell you by the carafe, you'll buy a bottle there, and that's to be expected, isn't it? So here's a little bit of footage of myself, family, enjoying the Vino della Casa. So this is what I'm talking about, the Vino della Casa Rosso, the house red. I found this restaurant, look actually, I've been walking past this restaurant for a long, long time, and it's called the Signor Vino, Mr. Wine. But look at the setting behind me. You can't beat that, can you? Now, if you come to Florence, I guess a day trip out into Tuscany would be on your to-do list as well, wouldn't it? So why not combine that day trip with a trip to a winery, some wine tasting, some food, some Tuscan delights. You know, for instance, I've been on a couple myself. You know, we visit Siena, we visit San Gimignano, we visit a wine for some lunch and some tasting. So here I am with San Gimignano in the background. So we've just arrived at the winery. We're going to have some wine tasting, a bite to eat, and then we're going up into San Gimignano to explore one of my favourite medieval towns, I must admit. Okay, so we're going to go in, try some wine, and a little bite to eat. What about this seat? What about the views? What about the wine? Salute.
The grape that we use is 100% Vernaccia di San Gimignano.
Grazie mille.
Prego.
Camera.
And the last one is Vin Santo. Do you know what is Vin Santo? No. Okay, Vin Santo means a holy wine. It's a desert wine, very, very common here in Tuscany.
Hi everyone. Bruce has so kindly let me do a little cameo with you. Just wanted to give you an update on our trip today. It's been a blast. We're currently walking back to our transport, and what I have actually bought for Dad is a Chianti wine with cheddar cheese that it's paired with, and I'm hoping that Dad really likes it.
Hey, better still, if you've got access to a car, jump in it from Florence and you're down in the Val d'Orcia, that beautiful part of southern Tuscany, within an hour and a half or so. And then you can visit towns such as Montepulciano and San Gimignano and pick up some bargains. For instance, the Nobile from Montepulciano here, it's a nice drop, and I bought a box of 6. It worked out to be €12 each, so that's not too bad. Have a look at this. If you love your Chianti Classico wine, well, just up the road is where it all began, back in the 1920s. Castellino, look at this, and Monteriggioni, the hilltop fortress. Fantastic. And guess what? That's where I'm staying tonight. Buonasera.
Buonasera. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
If you want to try my wine, free tasting, this is company, have a small production.
I would love to. Yeah, si. Oh, that's the name of the business. Isn't this wonderful? And I've been invited in for a little bit of tasting. That's great. So I'm just tasting the Santa Margherita, which is made about 8 kilometres from here.
Yes. It's 8 kilometers.
100%
Yeah. Sangiovese.
Sangiovese grape.
Yes. Another 100% Merlot.
The Merlot.
Yeah. You see the different color, very brown.
Okay, yes, we can see the difference there. Grazie.
Yeah.
So the second one, yeah, the darker colour red, you see that much stronger. I think I prefer the first.
Yeah.
That first red, yeah.
Sangiovese.
I think so, yeah.
You can eat for what you want.
Okay, so there you go. That was €12, that bottle. It tasted nice. 100% Sangiovese grape. Lovely chap too. He does a bit of business in the US as well. Okay, getting back to Monteriggioni. Look at the old walls and doorways, and this our hotel just through there. So as you can see, it's really just 2 blocks of medieval buildings. Very authentic. That's the key to it. So authentic, really original. It's like stepping back into time. Montepulciano. So the town responsible for the Nobile red wine. I like the sound of that. So I'm expecting a lot of the Nobile wine to be on sale here. To get a bargain. Yes, they're every second, third shop. Free shipping worldwide. Okay, as I was just saying, little wine cellar, wine tasting, little boxes for sale, looking promising. Let's go in and have a look. Let's go in and have a look. Look at the cellar down the back. Isn't that wonderful? There's some prices for you. 6 bottles, 50 cheeses.
Michaela, and then 6 sushi. Yeah.
Okay. Vino Nobile from Montepulciano is the most important wine from Montepulciano, and it's made of 80% grapes Sangiovese, 20%
Book a wine bar for some wine tasting. As we can see in this section coming up, I got voted out. I had to go to the whites, but that's fine. And talking fine, the wines are very, very nice and paired with some beautiful foods, as you can see. That was a nice night, but you're paying a bit more, aren't you? That was €45 each. You know, sometimes you've got to treat yourself, don't you? Hey, buonasera. Listen to that. So I'm off to the Economical tonight, a wine shop for some wine tasting. Hey, it's opposite the Pitti Palace. So you might notice behind me, I've just walked over the Ponte Vecchio. Very busy, as usual. Look, I'll let you know how the wine tasting goes. So the Pitti Palace in front of us was bought by the Medici family off the Pittis for a pittance. And really, they wanted the bobbly gardens behind the Pitti Palace so that their children could have somewhere to play. Now, the Ionotica, the wine shop, is just opposite this palace. So the Ionotica, the wine shop, is just here. Have a look at it. Looks really nice, doesn't it? So I'm coming in now.
It's in a safe type of thing or fridge, and it's got a temperature on it. Maybe it's
Right, so we've just arrived, we've settled in, and we're going for a vegetariano selection of foods, and they've all been paired. They've been paired with some wine, so we'll let you know how that goes. €45 each, but four tastings with the food.
For you, we start with a bubble Chianti Classico from French Porta, where in northern Italy around Lake Sale. So, close to the area of the garden of the production.
So we have a sparkling wine, and it's paired with an artichoke. Let me just give that a go. With some onion in there, it's really nice. And of course, I need to have a sip.
it's strange.
Sure.
Okay.
It's an orange wine technically, so it's a white maceration of skins, while the more funky notes, tannin, who is not typical for a white wine because they leave the skins inside, so it's a little bit more dry, but it's round because they have maceration of skins, a little bit sweeter for the agement in the oak. This is a really totally different wine. It's perfect with the flamings around now.
Right. Brilliant.
What do you think?
So a lovely next course. And I know the cheese is from Pienza. It's the pecorino cheese from Pienza.
For you, we go with nice Chianti Classico Riserva. It's 2018 from Montefiorale. Sangiovese, 95, 5 of Canaiolo. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Prego.
So have a look at this. That's actually a cube tiramisu. And over here we have salted caramel. It's sort of like a work of art. Look at that. I'm going to. Let's just see. Break into it. Oh. It's stuck to the spoon. I'm going to have to go for it. And the great thing is when you go out in Florence, it never ceases to amaze me. The street performers walking home. It's just lovely, it really is. Look at this, we're over the Ponte Vecchio, the guy playing some music there. Classical music in the Repubblica, you'll see in this section coming up too. It really is just lovely. Okay, so just heading home.
L'abbandono il mio sola malattia, paese mio ti lascio via. Che sarà, che sarà, che sarà, che sarà.
It's pretty nice, isn't it? We're just walking home from the wine tasting. We've got a friend with us, a colleague from Beijing, and she's back teaching in the UK. She's dropped over to Florence, so we've just gone to wine tasting with her, and we've just come through the Palazzo Vecchio. It's just magic at night, isn't it? Really lovely. So just another little snapshot, isn't it, of some of the views in Florence. Wonderful. And they just walk off, they leave me here. I look up, where have they gone? I'll find them. Yeah, so we're still walking home. We've been sidetracked. Just lovely, isn't it, at night time? The lights just adds another layer of beauty, doesn't it? And look, I still haven't found them. Yeah, I get the camera out and they, oh, here he goes again, and they wander off. I don't know about you, but this music, I just feel like breaking out into a dance. The fact that I've had a little bit of wine too probably contributes to that feeling as well. And look, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. All things wine in Florence and Tuscany. Please, thumbs up, subscribe, bell notifications on. See you next episode. Ciao. Zaijian. Salute.